Hello there, Dragon City enjoyer. Today I wanted to make a beginner's guide to start off the year 2023 that will hopefully help anyone from level 1 up to level 50. This is more general advice and things that you can do every single day to help speed up your progress. Number 1. Get events unlocked ASAP. Dragon City has pretty much constant events going on, but one good thing is that a lot of these events have 4 element dragons that are relatively easy to obtain, assuming you're logging in for each reset, that is. You should try to get 4 element dragons as soon as you can, as these will also help you in the arena. So the quickest way to do that is to start playing the events. Events unlock just a few levels after level 10, so these are unlockable in less than a couple of days of gameplay. Dragon City has 7 main event types that are cycled through every month, and each of these work differently. I've already made event guides for the runner events and heroic races, but I do plan to make a guide for each of the other events in time. But you can get experience from placing and upgrading habitats, hatching dragons, and some of the goals can give you a hefty wad of experience as well. So you could make quick work of your early game leveling up by constantly farming short timer food, doing early quest battles, and placing and upgrading lots of terra habitats. However, and be aware of this, that at a certain point after unlocking the breeding sanctuary, you will want to stop leveling up as quickly because of the league battles. Number 2, get your hatchery upgraded as soon as possible. Dragon City has up to 6 hatchery slots, and trust me, eventually you're going to need all of these unlocked, and maybe even wish that you had more like 10 of them. But the sooner that you get this upgraded, the more you can breed freely and get eggs out of your storage quicker. If you happen to get a heroic or legend from an event chest, you'll need some free hatchery slots to ensure that you can still breed and hatch dragons for events and daily progress. But you can get gems from the daily goals, events, and just general daily gameplay activities. Number 3, aim to get your Dragon Roost upgraded ASAP. The Dragon Roost is a very annoying feature that will stop you from being able to level dragons past a certain point until it's upgraded. You're usually better off upgrading higher rarity dragons and those with 4 elements for this, so that then you'll have more and better options in the arena. You'll also want to get the Roost upgraded to level 6, which allows you to take your dragons to level 40 as soon as you can, so that then you'll have a much easier time in the league and the arena. To get more food, you can of course put certain food types into your farm, although you'll also have to get your farms upgraded for this. Although the main way to collect food will actually be through limited time events that pop up. The maze event, for example, has paths that hold exclusively food, and the mystery food box can drop up to 3.84 million food. XL food boxes are also guaranteed on certain maze paths, which hold a guaranteed 3.84 million food. So you can see how useful some of these events could be for upgrading your dragons, considering that to get one dragon from level 1 to level 40 for the basic level cap only takes 6.28 million food, which is essentially just 2 XL food boxes. That doesn't mean that you have to ignore everything else from the events, but getting lots of food early on will really help you get into a good spot where you can take on the league battles, which otherwise will cause you major problems during events such as the heroic races. Number 4, make sure you are always aware of the current event collections that are going on. Event collections can be found near the top right of your screen in the little circle, and there will always be some kind of event collections going on. Once you have Dragon TV unlocked, there will always be a Dragon TV collection ongoing, which relies on you watching ads and gives you a guaranteed mythical, legendary, karma, vampire, or even heroic dragon for watching enough ads to get you 50 Dragon TV coins. This will typically take 25 days of the month to complete if you're watching all of the ads every day, but this could net you an insanely good dragon. On top of this, we also have limited time collections that come into the game, and by taking a look at these, you'll see that there are rewards for collecting items from the various Dragon City events that have been going on during that time period. The rewards can range from gems, heroic and legendary Joker Orbs, trade essence, habitat upgrade tokens, perks, food, all the way up to guaranteed eggs for vampires and titans. Some special events even give you the chance to get heroics from their event collections. The only trouble is that you'll need to typically collect a lot of events or event items through that month or the few weeks that the event is active in order to get those collection rewards. Some event collections are better and easier to complete than others, but all of these events typically have at least one outright pay-to-win only tier, which is the collection that requires the most event items and sits at the bottom of the event screen. Usually, all but the last or the last two tiers are achievable free-to-play if you have played the rest of the events through the month and have targeted event items while playing the events. Number 5. Daily shop things to collect. The treasure shop is mostly pretty useless and a really easy way to waste a lot of gems. However, there is a free daily chest that you can collect during the daily reset time, which for me is at 11 AM here in England every day. This chest can contain a few gems, keys for Dragon Rescue, Joker Orbs, and a couple of other items, so it's worth opening it every single day. Card packs are mostly useless, so I don't suggest really ever using this feature of the game in its current state. However, one really useful part of the shop is the Orbs section. You'll see that the majority of the orbs in the shop cost gems, so these ones you'll be ignoring pretty much all the time. However, on the far right of the shop, every 12 hours, the shop will offer 5 orbs for a legendary or heroic dragon, and then go out of stock before randomly restocking with a new legendary or heroic dragon's orbs during the next 12-hour reset. As soon as you get a good flow of gold coming in from your habitats, and you can easily afford it, make sure you're picking up these orbs every 12 hours, because these can easily net you loads of free heroics later on. Number 6. Habitats and crystals. Early on, you won't have very much space to work with in DC, so really, you need to start expanding out to the other islands as soon as you get the chance, because otherwise, you will run out of space very quickly. If you want a fast gold farming method for events such as the heroic race, you can place down a lot of Terra habitats, as they're very cheap, and then fill them with Terra dragon eggs, which only take 15 seconds to hatch, so that you can keep collecting gold from these habitats, and you have a way to clear the collect gold quests. But outside of this, all habitats can be upgraded, and the first level requires gold to upgrade them. Starting off with the earlier unlocked habitats in the shop, such as Terra, Fire, Sea, and Nature habitats, will mean their purchase and upgrade cost is a lot cheaper than some of the later unlocked habitats. However, do be aware that you're better off upgrading all of your habitats equally in level for a specific type, rather than having one level 6 flame habitat and one level 2 flame habitat, for example, as the habitats will cost habitat tokens to upgrade them after the first couple of levels. So rather than costing gold, these will cost tokens, which you can get from events and a couple of other places. As the token cost goes up very quickly based on the habitat level, having 5 level 3 habitats will be much better than just upgrading one habitat up to level 6. Plus, you'll have more space from having more habitats placed. The only issue is that this will obviously require more island space to achieve. Early on, you'll also definitely want to be taking advantage of crystals, so having lots of fire habitats placed and lots of dragons placed in those flame habitats with flame crystals around will be a really nice way to generate extra gold. Crystals don't have a massive area of effect, so you'll need to be mindful of how you plan to place your crystals. And do be aware that crystals can stack, so if you manage to place crystals appropriately, you can give certain habitats an 80% plus gold production boost. So make sure you try and make this happen inside your most crowded habitats to generate the most gold. Number 7. Get your other breeding dens unlocked ASAP. You'll start off with just one breeding den in Dragon City, however there are actually 3, technically 4 if we include the Ancient World breeding dens available. There's the base breeding den, which is unlocked immediately. There's the Ultra breeding tree, which costs gems to unlock in the building section. Then there's the breeding sanctuary, and there's also the Ancient World breeding area. Ancient World breeding doesn't count towards event points, so you'll mainly be using the 3 breeding dens on the main islands each day. The Ultra breeding tree goes on sale roughly once a month for up to 50% off, meaning that this will cost you 50 gems instead of the usual 100. So I would recommend trying to have at least 50 gems spare to be able to purchase this when it goes on sale. The breeding sanctuary will unlock at level 25, and that costs 25 gems to unlock. However, after it's unlocked, it can be upgraded using gold. So this means that it can cost just 75 gems to unlock all 3 breeding dens in DC if you take advantage of the sale. Having 3 dens will ensure that you can do all of the breeding required during your various events. Heroic races and puzzle events in particular will become much easier as soon as you get all of your dens unlocked. Number 8. Get to level 16 and join an alliance. Alliances in Dragon City are one of the main multiplayer experiences in Dragon City, and they can give you some fantastic rewards for taking part and scoring during alliance chests. There are alliance chests happening almost constantly, except there's a 1-day break between alliance events to give alliances a short break. Some of the alliance chests will require you to hatch dragons, win league battles, breed dragons, or win battles in the arena. Some of these tests will be much easier for players that have permanent speed up happy hour, but you should still try your best to contribute when these periods are on, as you can get millions of food or orbs for a legendary dragon that you can use really early on and get empowered easily. Number 9. Getting legendary dragons unlocked in the Dragon Rescue. Dragon Rescue is in a way a different type of in-game event, except you can do Dragon Rescues at any time and it costs keys in order to do a new rescue. You'll start off by only having common dragons available to unlock, but then once you finish the first common rescue, you'll then unlock rare rescues, then very rare, epic, and then legendary rescues. So you'll need to do a rescue of each rarity in order to get legendary rescues unlocked, but you'll also get more rewards from the higher tier rescues. The only thing to keep in mind is that the higher tier rescues also cost more keys to unlock, but getting legendary rescues unlocked will be very useful, as you might need to unlock a certain legendary for quests, events, or sometimes, very rarely, some super special dragons become available, such as Divine Pass dragons or high tier arena dragons. You'll also need a lot of higher level dragons to be able to complete the higher tier rescues, such as legendary rescues for example, but this is a part of the game that you can work at slowly over time as you collect more dragons and get them leveled up. Number 10. Watch your ads every single day. I mentioned Dragon TV previously in the event collections, however, the ads section of Dragon City can give more rewards than just the guaranteed mythicals or vampires. Every day, at 11 AM in England, which may be slightly different for your time zone, the daily reset will happen, and Dragon TV rewards will also reset. Once this happens, a new set of 15 ads will become available for you to watch. On the 15th ad, you'll get to open a loot box which changes daily. These loot boxes in the ads section have lower drop rates than usual, which you'd find in the regular events. However, these still give you the opportunity to get a legendary or even a heroic dragon every day for watching ads. Some even guarantee at least a few vampire orbs, which can then be used during the summoning happy hour. But on top of this, the first few rewards can sometimes be food, but will often be event currency for one of the currently ongoing events. In order to get a full value out of all of the events free to play, you'll need to be watching ads to get bonus event currency to guarantee some of the harder to get dragons. Plus, you'll of course get the Dragon TV coins as well. There are 2 sets of 15 ads every day that can give event items and dragon loot boxes, so that's 30 ads per day. After the first set of 15 ads, there will usually be a cooldown of roughly 6 hours before you can watch the second set. So you're better off watching the first set of ads as soon as you can and then watching the second set later. However, the ads normally continue on after this, but provide food as a reward instead of event currency. So the lower your level, the more useful these food ads will be. However, one thing that I will note is that for some reason, the usual Dragon TV ads aren't available for all new players from day one, and you'll actually need to log into the game for 30 days before these upgraded reward ads unlock. If this is the case for you, you'll still have ads, but they won't offer the chance for the best dragons until after the first month of you playing the game. Number 11. Event reset times and how to easily complete event resets. I keep mentioning this time of 11 AM in England for the main reset time, and that's because Dragon City, like a lot of mobile games, has reset times, which are specific periods of time where you can collect event currency or when timers tick over and events change. Dragon City's main events operate on 8-hour reset timers, meaning that during maze events, for example, you can collect up to 600 event currency between the times of 11 AM and 7 PM. That's for my time here in England, 600 more event currency from 7 PM to 3 AM, and 600 currency from 3 AM until 11 AM. So that's 8 hours times 3, which is 24 hours. That's one day. The maze, runner, grid, fog, and tower events will operate on these 8-hour timers, although runner events require you to complete specific tasks during this time, whereas during the other events, you can do really any task in the game to get up to the maximum currency limit of 600 per reset. This means that the easiest way to get all 600 currency per reset for the maze, grid, fog, and tower events is to simply hatch a level 1 Terror Dragon and then feed it up until you've collected all of that reset 600 currency. It is that simple. It takes 10 seconds per reset to complete. Puzzle events and heroic races work differently, as your progress mostly comes down to when you can log in for the timers, but these events still have a couple of parts that do rely on reset timers as well. 12. How to start thinking about making a good team. Dragon City has 21 elements total, and each of these have different weaknesses and strengths. In order to have a selection of dragons that can work in all different parts of the game, such as the arena, you would ideally be looking to use dragons that have 4 elements, with as many unique elements on your main squad as possible. Your main team in Dragon City will require 3 dragons that can take on league fights, but these will also be useful in the arena, although some may be restricted, as the arena does have certain restrictions based on rarity and specific elements for different arena leagues. However, one thing to note is that ancient elements, as of January 2023, and elements pure through to time, are generally more desirable as primary dragon elements. And what I mean by primary element is the first element of your dragon, because this is what determines what the dragon is weak and strong against in terms of elemental typing. For example, a wind dragon is strong against time, but is only super affected by the pure element. Ancient elements are typically harder to come by, although these are becoming more and more common with each event that's released, but as of right now, they're only weak and strong versus other ancient world elements, meaning that they're good to have as a first element on one of your dragons. There's a lot of different nuance to Dragon City team building, which would take a separate video in itself, but generally speaking, you'd be better off using a dragon that isn't weak to elements such as fire or terror, as these are very common elements, especially early on. It's something to keep in mind as you're building your first team or two in Dragon City. 13. Dragonbook and Collections. The Dragonbook shows you how many dragons you've collected so far in Dragon City. This can be a really good place to look through if you want to see how you can obtain a certain dragon, although I will warn you that some of these haven't been updated in a while and they aren't always perfectly accurate. Up to about dragon number 120 in the dragon book, these are all breedable dragons, and you'll likely need most of these to use for basic breeding. If you click on a grayed out dragon that you don't have yet, you can see a section that says source, and if you click this, this will tell you how you can obtain the dragon. Sanctuary breeding is a green heart, pink heart is regular breeding, the purple stopwatch means that the dragon is event only or time limited, and the shop feature means that the dragon is available via some means in the shop, whether that be in exchange for gold or in some sort of bundle pack. Some dragons are also displayed as being card pack only, however most of these will become available in events throughout the year. You can check the mastery section of your dragon book to see what breeds you can do to get some bonus rewards, which can be a nice boost early on, and you can get the free mastery dragon from this. However, the collection section is a really useful part of the dragon book that can net you some incredibly good dragons. You can click on each dragon book collection to see which dragons are required to be bred or collected to complete that collection. The best collections are typically right at the bottom and include some of the best dragons in the game, such as titans and vampires. There are some really useful basic vampires in Dragon City, such as Prideful and Hexed. However, there are two collection vampires, Sinful and Blood God, which are available for players that manage to finish the vampire collections in the Dragon Book. For instance, hatching the bio-augmented, hexed, usurper, and greedy vampires will unlock the Blood God vampire, which is still classed as one of the better dragons in the game. If you're going to be summoning, collecting, and trading vampires or titans at any point, keep these collections in mind as you can get some very, very good dragons from these collections. 14. Breeding and Breeding Reborn Basics. Breeding in Dragon City is pretty simple. A dragon with one element breeds with another element, and you can have a pool of dragons that can be bred. For instance, breeding a Flame plus Terra dragon together gives 3 possible breeds: Flaming Rock, Volcano, and Aztec, which are all Terra plus Fire dragons. The more elements you add into a breed, the more possibilities there will be. For instance, if we breed together a Terra plus Cloud dragon, which is a Flame plus Sea dragon, there are now 3 elements in the breeding pool. So now we can breed the Flaming Rock, Volcano, and Aztecs from earlier, but there's now also the chance to breed the Mud, Waterfall, Plankton, and Jelly dragons as well, which are Terra plus Sea dragons. If you're going for a specific breed, you'll want to reduce the number of elements involved in that breed to give you a higher percent chance of giving you the result that you want. So if you wanted to breed Aztec, you wouldn't include any elements apart from fire and earth in the mix, which is pretty simple. However, Dragon City has an added level of depth when it comes to breeding, as it has special breeding called Breeding Reborn. If you go into your den and throw in 2 dragons, you'll see that there's a bar that fills up somewhat. It's a green bar, and this is the Breeding Reborn bar, and special dragons will unlock once the bar reaches the first and second stage of the breeding bar. For instance, breeding Flame and Terra together with Breeding Reborn fully activated, you'll be able to breed the 2 basic dragons from earlier, but the Reddish and Demonic dragons will also now be available to breed. These Breeding Reborn dragons will be harder to breed on average due to them having more possible outcomes on average, and you'll also need to either empower or use breeding perks on your breeding dragons in order to unlock certain Breeding Reborn levels. This Breeding Reborn can get quite complicated, but it will allow you to breed some what would otherwise be limited time event only dragons. So it's something that you can at least start playing around with after you first started. 15. Perks. Dragon perks and empowerment have a lot of overlap, but they can also be very complicated topics and realistically need a guide all on their own. But a basic overview of perks is that they are essentially collectible event items that you can put on your dragons to make them either stronger or make them better for reborn breeding. You'll also have 2 combat perk slots and 1 character slot. At this moment in time, we can only apply breeding perks in the character slot, and we can apply the health, damage, or phoenix perks into the combat slots. Each perk gives a set bonus to your dragon, but you can add multiple perks of one type to a dragon. For instance, each breeding perk will add 5% to the breeding Reborn bar. However, you can add a few of these onto one dragon to give a 5, 15, or 30% breeding boost, for example. However, and this is a big, massive, please be aware in huge red letters, however, please be aware that you cannot remove perks from a dragon once they've been added. This is something the game doesn't do a very good job of explaining, but once you've added the breeding perk onto a dragon, it's staying there unless you sell or recall the dragon. Then the perk will be returned to you. This means that you don't want to be putting perks onto your dragons willy-nilly, and the combat perks in particular are very difficult to collect. Phoenix in particular, because Phoenix is considered the strongest combat perk. However, they're just so difficult to come by that you'll need to be very, very careful who you apply these Phoenix perks to. Same with any of the perks, really. If they're not a main team member that you'll use for a very long time, just don't apply any combat perks to your dragons for now. You can save those for things like vampires, corrupted titans, perception dragons, and things like that. Breeding perks you could always place on a dragon for a short time, breed with them, and then sell the dragon to get your perks back, but please make sure you're not doing this with any time-limited event-only dragons, because that would be very sad. 16. Some other things to be aware of daily that would require guides of their own. Divine Pass, which has both a free and pay-to-win side, is incredibly useful, and you should be doing these daily and weekly goals as much as possible to get the rewards every month. Because you can get gems, VIP eggs, legendary dragon orbs, and food out of these passes, so definitely take a look at this battle pass and finish it off. Guardian Dragon Towers can be useful and help you out with your daily tasks, so you'll want to be exploring in each of these towers each day and unlocking each of the tower dragons. Empowerment. Empowerment is a crucial part of the game, but this is more of an advanced gameplay mechanic that has a lot of nuance, so I'll be going into more depth for this later on. But empowering your dragons allows them to go beyond level 40, makes them stronger, and also adds to the breeding Reborn bar. The Dragonarium and Kindergarten are useful buildings for additional dragon storage if you're low, but you're usually better off keeping as many dragons within regular habitats as you can so that they can generate more gold. There's a full ongoing events and offers panel on the far right of your screen that you should be checking every day to make sure you haven't missed out on anything that's currently going on. There's the entire Ancient World section that gives you a way to breed Ancient World element dragons, but this part of the game has niche uses for specific breeding that will require a little bit more knowledge and expertise. And finally, there's a breeding event island that occasionally hosts breeding events, but the dragons in these events are incredibly difficult to breed and can take hundreds and hundreds of breeds to be successful. So realistically, unless you get very lucky, you probably won't be picking up any of these event island dragons for a long while. But anyway, that was a lot of information to take in, and I did dip into a couple of more advanced features, but they are just some of the things you need to be aware of as a new player or a returning player to Dragon City. There are a lot more things to learn, but I hope for any returning or new players that the information from this video will give you some guidance and somewhere to start while learning, or relearning the game in the year 2023. If you need any further help or guidance, please feel free to join my Discord server. We have a few Dragon City players in there that share their experience and tips every day, so if you want any more info about anything you've seen today or have any other questions, feel free to join and take a look.